up, everybody, and welcome back to another all-new episode of Catching Up with You. Today, you get the pleasure, nay, the honor, okay, of catching up with Caitlin Bassett, who, as you know, is on the new Quantum Leap. And I mean, if you watch that season finale like I watched that season finale, we gonna need that season 3 real quick, like, you know what I'm saying? But we get into all that and we get into a little bit more. I will warn you that this is 2 military vets coming together, so there was a touch more swearing than usual, but don't let that deter you. It's a great time to be had by all. But before I let you loose on the episode, you make sure you go up to that like button and give it a little pickle tickle, and make sure you go ahead and smash that subscribe button, all right? Without further ado, here's Catching Up with Caitlin Bassett.
And we're here. Hello.
Hi.
Oh, I miss your face.
I miss your face. But I
But
can see it.
I can
which is
see it.
amazing.
Right? Oh, how you doing?
I'm good, babe. I'm good. I'm excited to talk to you, honestly.
I know. Can I just say though, yeah, I watched the new episode of
Thank
Quantum
you.
Leap coming in.
Thank you.
And like I had the tiniest bit of hope. I don't want to give like spoilers, but because it just came out, but like I had this little tiny bit of hope, right? Because of what happened with Hannah.
Mhm.
And then you just took that from me. You ripped it from me like just like a waxing or something. Just
I did do that.
You hurt my soul. You
Yeah,
hurt.
it was certainly a Brazilian wax of an episode.
Oh my gosh.
That's our first quote from today. That's good. Yeah, it was pretty. When I got that episode script, I texted the writer and I was like, so, well, no, actually not the writer, because the writer I didn't know very well, but I texted my showrunner and also another writer. And I was like, so, what?
What are we doing?
Y'all really pushing the goodwill of the Leapers.
I mean, I'm just like, damn, like y'all just,
Yeah.
everybody's feelings are hurt. And like,
Everybody. In fact, like a lot of the comments I've seen, I was like, we watched Quantum Leap because we want to feel good, and this did not make me feel good. I
yeah,
was
no,
like,
it's a lot.
get it.
That was just like,
I get it. Yeah. But if I promise you, we needed that because you're about to see in the next 4 episodes just a ramp up of all of the things.
oh my God. Okay.
Because I mean, at the end of the day, like, right, what's been I don't know, Achilles heel of my character, I felt, has been that I am constantly kind of reacting to the events and decisions of other people.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I mean, we won't name him, but it starts with a B and it ends with an N.
That's right. We've been doing it. So, like, what I really liked about it is this episode was like, you know what? You need to live your life, and your life is this, and I need to live mine. And for the first time, I'm going to make a decision that I don't actually care so much what the consequences of those are. And it will handle it however we got to handle it. You know what I mean? Like, so what, and like, I think this decision, I will say, like, after the end of this episode, playing Addison started to feel different because it felt like she was finally in the driver's seat of Addison.
Okay. All
Which
right.
is fun.
I'll give you that. Cause
Yeah.
like, okay. In that, when you explain it that way, it makes a lot of sense. So I will buckle in and
Buckle in, girl. It's only 4 more, and the last one's a double header. And like, watch. I'm so excited. I'm gonna like watch it with my people. I'm so excited. It's gonna be so fun.
okay. Because like, I mean, honestly, every season finale, like every kind of the midpoint and just the first season finale have been jaw droppers, and it's just like, why did you leave me like this? Like,
they go hard. They go real hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, they go real hard.
Yeah.
And what I've been starting to say, because I realized it's true, is that so you, at the end of episode 201, right? So the first episode of season 2, you realize how different season 2 is going to be from season 1. You're like, oh, whoa, this is a different structure almost. Like, something has changed. By the end of season 2, you are going to see how different season 3 would be.
Oh my gosh.
So they like, I mean, it's not like a cliffhanger in the like, I don't know what's happening. You know exactly what's happening.
Yeah. Like we know where we're going. So
yeah.
Okay. So I will buckle in. I'm ready. But it's every time we have this conversation though, I'm looking at you like, girl.
They do a lot. In fact, the most, one could argue.
like I'd be like,
when Ray read episode 213, I knew it because he just posted on Instagram, the Quantum Leap writers are insane. That's how he responded to the finale, reading the finale script of this. Yeah, like that's all. And I was like, that's right.
All right. Now I'm scared, but I'm anxious. I'm ready. Yeah. I'm super ready. All right. Okay. I will accept this now because we're going somewhere interesting. We're getting into the nitty-gritty. I mean, we've been in it because it's just like whoa, hey, wow. Just a lot of Ben, what are you doing? Ben, okay. You know what, Ben? I'm gonna let you do you. Like, because you're doing the most right now.
Yeah.
But so I'm ready. But this is your first series.
It's my first job, girl. What do you mean my first series?
First everything.
It's JLB.
Is number one.
I had some non-union commercials where they took pictures and then I had
a job.
Quantum Leap. That was my trajectory.
You were like, yeah, this is cool. Oh, okay, here we go. That's a huge transition there. That's a leap. That's a huge leap.
Yeah, that joke. It's. I've never heard it before, actually. Oh, I took a quantum leap. Yeah, never heard it.
You took a quantum leap jump. But you've been leaping though way before this because you were in the Army. So.
Well, you were in the Marines, so.
Okay. I'm catching up with you. You're not catching up with me.
Oh, I'm gonna catch up with you.
But yeah, I mean, like, so, I mean, how do we get here? Like, I mean, you know, did you have a lot of military in your upbringing that made you make that decision, or how did that go?
It's so weird having a conversation with you. Like, we haven't had all these conversations. For everybody watching, Amber and I went to theater school together. And we've known and been very good friends for 5 years, 6 years, somewhere in there.
You know, as I get older, I don't know anymore. Like,
well, we met in 2017, September 2017.
Yes.
So we started theater school.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And
that feels like 100 years ago now.
So math.
That feels like a very long time ago.
It was a lifetime ago. It was a pandemic ago.
The whole pandemic happened in there, and it's still happening. So, yay!
I know. I'm over it now. I've quit. I've quit the pandemic. We're done. We're done.
No, it's what do I call it? The post pandemonium is what I'm doing right now. Because it's still wild, it's still crazy out there, but it's like everybody's like, you still gotta get to work. And I'm like, all right, I guess.
Fine.
Whatever.
Yeah. So anyway, so for context for everybody, Amber and I've known each other for a long time. So I'm gonna pretend like I've not answered these questions before.
Okay, look.
Listen.
I'm catching up with you, but I want other people to catch up too.
All right, I get it. I understand how podcasts work. It's just weird because most podcasts.
Of course, I know these answers. Yes, I know these answers. I know all the answers, but that's not the point.
Fair enough. Okay.
Get on board, pal.
All right, I'm on board. I'm on the train. Here we go. All aboard. So my name's Caitlin. No, okay. So the question was, how did we get? I mean, did I have military in my family? Yes, absolutely, I did. My father was infantry in Vietnam. He joined. He was not drafted. He joined when he turned 18 years old. He deployed on his 19th birthday to Vietnam. He returned on his 20th birthday to Vietnam and couldn't order a beer in the United States. So he deployed in 1969 and came back in 1970. So like a very hot part of the war. He was long range recon. And then like my grandfather on my mother's side, so not his side, he was a navigator in World War II. And yes, in the Navy. So it was just in my family, and my dad is a phenomenal storyteller. And I mean the guy's got a gift. Yeah. He was a sportscaster for years. He just like, he oozes. I mean, he's on 3 wives and he's not rich. Okay. So like, like, you know what I mean? Like and he's only like 5', 7, 8, something like that. So like, he's not tall, dark, and handsome. King. Yeah, and he's not rich, but he is charismatic, man, and he can tell a story.
Shout out to all the charming short kings out there, okay?
That's right. Yes. That's right. Learn how to tell a story, y'all. But he was just, I grew up steeped in his stories about Vietnam, and his stories about television, about interviewing Muhammad Ali. And he actually returned to television a few years when I was a kid, because he had done it mostly in like the out of the army, so 70s, maybe early 80s, before I was here, when he had his first family. Yeah, my sister and brother. But he came back and was sportscasting in Baltimore when I was a little kid. So there was a short time in my life where I woke up Sunday mornings and me and my mom used to watch my dad on TV. And I think there's like, if you think back, hindsight's 2020, I'm like, oh, it all started there. Like, it all started where I had watched a man evolve so many times in his life. And he started businesses and worked for companies and became a pilot. And so for me, chapter changes were not abnormal at all. Okay. But what had always heard is like, the military was such a intense, crazy experience that he got to keep for the rest of his life and tell these amazing stories. And look, I wanted to be an actor graduating from high school. I was a mess. I screwed up high school so bad. Like epic failure. I failed a whole year, failed. I was never a senior. I technically was a junior, and because I had taken a summer class, so I technically graduated as a junior, but it was my fourth year of high school. It was ridiculous. And I was in like AP and GT classes. It was all my fault. It was because I just wanted to be like a little bad kid and do all these things.
So did you like have a graduation of one? They just kind of handed you your
No, they let me graduate. But technically I was never a senior in high school. I was
you graduated. You better
I did let me do the thing. They let me graduate and all that stuff. But yeah, like I had to, like, it was work. And I was like, well, I can't get into college.
You're not looking for me with that.
And I certainly wasn't going to stay in my hometown. And I just remember thinking very clearly, I was like, and I've done this my whole life, and I know we've talked about this before, but I tend to make decisions based on what am I going to regret the most if I don't do it. And I was like, I can come back to college. I can come back to being an actor. But if I don't join the Army right now, this is never something I'm going to come back to.
Facts.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to happen. So I did it. And I mean, girl, my initial plan was like 1 and out. I wanted, and like 9/11 had been a big thing in my life. I grew up around DC. My dad took a job in Las Vegas helping an air tour company after 9/11 because air tourism tanked, ultimately leading to my parents' divorce. So if I could pinpoint a moment in history when I was like, when did your life go from regular to exploded? that was actually the moment. Which I later found out he had actually agreed to take that job prior to 9/11, which like, I'm like, whoa, what? So Osama bin Laden did not fuck up my life? You fucked up my life? You was y'all the whole time I'm out here blaming Osama bin Laden.
It's like, it was not Osama bin Laden. No,
It was not. He fucked up a lot of other people's lives, but he did not fuck up my life.
No, your dad did that one directly. It was like straight shot.
That's right. But yeah, so that's how I ended up. So I planned to do one, and then, you know, and you and I found this, like, we ended up being pretty good at it. You know, like, once you realize, like, okay, like in the Army though, for real, like if you do A, B, C, D, you're gonna get E, F, G.
Yeah.
Like that's how it goes.
Yeah. Like a lot of people, like, I don't know everybody's experience, so I'm not gonna like.
That's right.
You know,
that's right.
But for me, it was a very quick lesson. It's just like, you literally just have to do it by the numbers, and they give you stuff. They give you promotions. They give you medals. They give you assignments that you want. They it's just not that hard. It's
just not like, if you, and it is, again, there's outliers, there's traumatic events, like all of the hedging around what I'm about to say, but it is an institution that does return kind of what you put into it.
Yeah.
So if you're out there working on your fitness and you're working on your extracurricular skills and you're taking the college class, you know what I mean? Like, it like life, and this is true, like when you put that energy in, it's more immediate, I think, in the Army, or in the Marines or whatever, because it's like, oh, you check the box, and here's a whole bunch of people who aren't doing that. Like, here you go.
Here, fine. That's cool. If only the real world could like function that way.
But I honestly do think it does to a certain extent. I do think if you put concentrated effort and you're pretty single about it, the problem is figuring that out.
Immediacy of it. Just like,
there's no immediacy and there's no guide path. Like in the Army, they're literally like, just do this.
Yeah.
Just do that. And you're like, all right.
Everything's
like,
an
no,
acronym.
I want to be different. And I'm like, well, then not in the Army, you don't.
No,
you don't.
There's no such thing. I mean, they say army of one, but that's not really it, is it?
No. Anyway, so I was in, I did well. I ended up being in for a little over 7 years. I re-enlisted 2 times while I was in. My first deployment to Afghanistan, and my second when I was back at Fort Meade in Maryland, actually, because I wanted to finish college. So I took the option where you could basically, they gave me a semester off work to just go to college full time. And I took a year of college in 1 semester. Yeah. Well, yeah, I had to make up for high school where I failed a year of high school. And then, so I've done it before. Like, I will say, one of the biggest gifts I ever gave myself in life was fucking up high school, because I learned how to dig myself out of a hole. I learned what it felt like to be like, I'm behind the pack right now and I don't fucking like it. Yeah. And so I'm going to go. And I've taken that with me to everything, to include acting, and it kind of paid off.
100%. 100%. I will say, like, you were one of the few people that I met when I was in school that I was like, I like her. Like, she's got that thing, and it's just your tenacity and drive is so encouraging and inspiring. And it was just like, it was immediately visible.
Well, like, and I'd also like to mention that quality is kind of irrespective of talent.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't think I was naturally the most talented person. I certainly wasn't the most free. Like, you had some people that had been doing theater school, had done theater in college. They just had a freedom and ability I didn't have yet. I was like out of the Army. I was like, I sound like this, right? Like, because you can't, like, acting is unfair in the sense that, like, you can't get better at it alone. You must fail in front of people constantly to the point of ad nauseum. It's exhausting.
Yes.
Like writing, I can write and then come back to it a week later and be like, I need to fix that. I can read books. There's things I can do. My physical fitness, like there's all sorts of things I can do alone.
Yeah.
Acting is one of the very few you can't possibly get better at unless you fall on your face in front of people.
Yeah.
And it sucks.
It's the very definition of falling up, though. Like,
if you're doing it right.
Yeah.
If you can accept it.
Yeah. Like, you have to be open to failure. And I think a lot of people in general just are not open to failure because we've been conditioned to think that failure is bad and it's wrong and you'll never get it right if you're failing. But it's like failing is where the lessons are. Failing is where you learn the most, and you take that and then,
failure just means that you're growing.
Yeah.
It just means that you're trying something you don't already know how to do. And if all you ever do is things you already know how to do, well, like, you're basically stopped evolving by the time you're 20 years old. Like, is that who you want to be? What?
Yeah, no. I remember my 20-year-old self and that. But so you came straight from the Army to Stella?
No, ma'am. I did 2 years of law school first.
Yeah. Wait, I was like, we're missing something in there. Where is the law school?
Yeah.
Okay. So you were like, all right, I want to be an actor, but I'm going to go join the Army. Did that. Oh, I kind of like this. I'm going to go to law school. Law school sounds
being
right.
an actor isn't a real thing.
Why not?
No, it is now, but I didn't think that then.
At the time, it was like,
yeah.
Who does
I was
that?
like, that's for hippies and liberals. Okay. I grew up as a farm kid. And I was like, that's for that's not for me. I can't. Like, I joined the Army and like, you get it, right? Like, and I think anybody who, I feel like we all experience this at some point, which is that, like, we're set on this path and we start to derive our value from it. And we start to see where we stack up socially because of it. And I was in the Army and I was doing well. And I liked to try and continue to push myself. So I wanted to get my degree. I thought maybe I'd go be an officer. I wasn't sure. That was always on the table. Come back maybe as a JAG, but I don't know. But I'd always thought about being a lawyer, and I've always been quite argumentative. And so everybody told me to be a lawyer.
Own it. Just own it.
And I was like, all right, well, it feels like a very natural next step. So, and also again, like, I think I definitely had a chip on my shoulder about, like, I was a smart kid that screwed it up for myself. And I think when I got, I'll tell it. I'll tell the story. So when I got back from my first deployment, I had just gotten promoted to sergeant. I was 21 years old. And I was one of the only people that had deployed from the unit, which is like a very big badge of honor in the Army. And I got back, and there was this guy I'd always been competing with for promotions and stuff. And he was like, it's just this like big New Jersey, like, bloke.
Oh, Jesus.
And I still love the guy. But he and I had always been kind of competing, and he totally resented it because he had a college degree. And he was just like a gym bro. You know what I mean? Like, he was just this bro that was like, why is this chick who's like young, like, why I'm not competing with you? So I came back and he was a sergeant too. So we were all hanging out and probably was drunk, I think, or drinking. And we're getting into it in the back of the car for fun.
Yeah.
Just picking at each other. And I threw the deployment in his face very quickly because it was the only thing I had. So I threw it right in his face. And then he just goes, sure, you might have been deployed, but you're still an uneducated woman.
Oh.
Yeah. So fuck you, Roposh. I went to law school. Now I'm on TV. Yeah. So there was just also part of me that was like, you know what? Buddy's not wrong. And I was like, okay, well, I don't want to be looked at like that for the rest of my life.
Was it more so because of what happened in your senior year of high school that you really took that in, like when he said that, or is it just like?
I think so. I also think it was just a soft spot for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I was open to criticism like that because I was the type of person that kind of cared. I obviously cared about what people thought about me, which is something I try to work off very hard when people say mean things on the internet about me. But still something I work with.
I'm looking at the people on the internet.
Yeah. But also a lot of people say really nice things, which is really sweet. Yeah, so it just kind of got to me, and I was like, you know what, I do want an education though. I always had. I like to be informed. I like to be thoughtful. So that's when I signed up for classes. And then I think that's kind of when I was like, well, then grad school feels like the next step. Like, I'd save my GI Bill for it. And so I went to law school, and I did 2 years of it. And I did well. Like, I also wanted to, I think, prove to myself that I was smart enough to do it, because I didn't know if I was. And it turned out I was, which was great. The first year was the worst year of my life. I was a mess.
Yeah.
First of all, your first year of law school is historically like a bad year. And then it was my first year in New York City, which is another bad year. And it was my first year out of the Army, which is another bad year. So 3 of like the thing that people talk about is like 3 of the hardest years that you can have, I was having in the same year.
Yeah.
And a lot of the things, and I think this happens, and I'd love to talk to you about this. A lot of the things that we were kind of keeping at bay while we were in the military, or like avoiding, they all come crashing out. As soon as that structure falls apart and you no longer know who you are without these boundaries and identities and community, like all of a sudden, all your little skeletons just crawl out of it. Yeah, like they are just all over the room.
Yeah. I know that very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm so unhappy, but I was going to be unhappy this year. That was unavoidable. So I'm going to give this one more year. And so I did. I did another year of law school, still did good. Like still above a 3.0, like, but then is when I started to explore, like, okay, I'm unhappy. Like, what's happening? So that's when I started to explore like the writing classes and the acting classes, and I started to meet humans, and I had inherited my sister's friend group, and she worked in advertising. So she, had our very artsy friends and musician friends. And all of a sudden I started seeing all these people in my life that were like, you don't have to be a lawyer. Like, you could do something else. And New York City is a place where like, it's like the king of something else. You want to do something else? Come to New York. Like, and in New York, unlike everywhere else, I have to assume, like the difference between this life and this life is just that far. Like it's instead of stopping in Fidei, I just keep going to Soho. Like you just get off the train at a different stop, and it's a completely different world.
Yeah.
And so, for the rest of my life, I'm always going to say, if it wasn't for New York, I'd never be an actor. Because I never would have been around people that would have made that okay.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think everybody has that kind of point where it's like, and I think it hits really hard with military people who get out, because it's like, well, what do I do now? Do I go the straight and narrow route, or do I don't know, like there's that kind of fence, because you're drilled into your head this idea of like responsibility, and you have to do it right. But it's like, does that coincide with everything else that's going on with you? And like a 90% of the time, I guarantee it doesn't. So you're just like, I don't know what to do with that. And so sometimes that external confirmation of all of that that's going on is just super helpful to be like, oh, okay, so I can go, I can be responsible at this thing, but I can also go do it and be happy. That's crazy.
I think anybody who's looking to change chapters needs to build in a little bit of like reset time. I'm trying to figure out like what to call it. I've started to think of like the chapter change from the military out as like thinking of it as conscious evolution, because I think a lot of us just want to turn the page and be like, that's an old life, this is a new life. That's not how anything works.
No.
And all of that's going to come back. So actually thinking through what you want to bring with you, right? Like what from this era of your life serves you and what actually needs to get dealt with and left there.
Yeah.
And I promise you there's some childhood trauma.
Oh, always.
I promise you, especially from the military.
Yeah.
I promise you, no matter how many times you said it or think it or like high five your bros, like military service is inherently traumatic. The training is inherently traumatic. The jobs are like, that's just, and generally, by the way, a lot of the people who got there are there because they came from environments where they didn't have a lot of options on the outside. So I bet you there's some stuff going there on there too, right? Like, so if I could leave, you know, if I could teach one of those classes, those transition classes, I'd be like, really take stock of like what you want to bring with you and what you want to leave.
Yeah.
And then be okay with like, I mean, different cultures have different names for it. Like one of my favorite terms is like a walkabout, like where, you know, you just accept that there's a bit of wilderness for you to walk through.
Yeah.
And like, that's where we are.
Yeah.
I accept I'm in the wilderness right now and it's going to feel like that.
Yeah.
But just be okay with that. Cause I promise you, nobody, like you went, right? Like I went straight from service to a school to another school.
Yeah.
You can plan all you want. You're going to hit a wilderness. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter how closely you stack these things. You're going to hit a wall. Either, well, I mean, the pandemic hits you, but
yeah, no,
but you were up against a place where you needed to stop anyway. Like there were things, if it hadn't stopped you, something else was going to.
Yeah, I think like for me, I gotten tripped up a couple times, and I feel like it was the universe's way of telling me like, hey, hi, you need to stop, you need to slow down. But I'm just like, oh, fuck you, I'm going. Yeah. And then, you know, the pandemic, and like I was in New York for that, the lockdown. So I didn't have a choice but to sit down with myself. And, you know, you can't keep those thoughts at bay. You can't keep all of this stuff at bay anymore because there's no more distraction. You are stuck with you. And so it was like, fuck. And, you know, the initial reaction is to be resistant to that because
obviously
I've been doing fine. I've been working. I've been going to school. I've been doing this. I've been doing that. And it's like, yeah, that's the point. You haven't stopped. Like, you have not stopped. You have just continued to go.
Yep.
Like, stop.
And it's the easy way to distract yourself from your own bullshit. Like,
I mean, yeah.
It's very easy to not ask yourself tough questions, or which I think the key to it ultimately is like radical responsibility for yourself. Mm-hmm. Because you don't have to be responsible for yourself if you're not paying attention to it. Like you blow up on somebody, but like whatever, that's their problem. Like they were being a jerk or they were in my way or I was having a bad day. We're like, okay, but you just blew up on somebody.
Yeah.
You did not deserve it.
Yeah.
And even if they did, do you feel good about being the type of person that acted like that off of like
This,
You know what I mean? Did you
Yeah.
make the room better? Did you make the world better? Did you make yourself better? Like, all that happened was more destruction.
yeah.
All that happened was. And so when you really start taking responsibility for yourself, your reactions, your own health, that's when I truly felt the dial twist for me,
Yeah.
at least, right? Like, because law school, hot mess. What was I doing? I was drinking to cope, right? Theater school, got into theater school. I was like, I'm gonna be better now. I got into theater school. Like, look at me go. I might be a real actress one day.
Yeah.
And I was doing better for a while. And all of a sudden, that drinking crept up again.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wait a minute. Am I the problem?
Is it me? Am
Hi,
I the
I'm the
drama?
problem, it's me. Like,
Yeah. No. Yeah.
oh, whoops. I could go literally all around the world. Afghanistan, Texas, Qatar, wherever I wanted. Law school, theater school. Turns out the common denominator was Caitlin. And that's when I was like, you know what? I need to take some responsibility for myself now.
Like, oh, damn it. Okay.
And yeah, I mean, I know you know. And you were really instrumental and supportive to me. You're one of the only people that even saw this happen. But it was after my birthday week. We had partied together a few times. And then I went and partied again with my sister. And I woke up, I'd like thrown up for no reason. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, I didn't even mean to drink that week.
Mhm.
And I had gotten drunk every single night. And then to the point of throwing up at my sister's apartment. Like, I was like, what?
Yeah.
And I remember saying to the room, I was like, I think I need to quit drinking. And no offense to them, but they all laughed at me because it was funny because we were all drinking. And like, that's a silly thing to say. You know, we're all like, well, man, I gotta go drink. But I was like, oh, I need to stop waiting for somebody else to agree that I need to take responsibility for myself.
Right.
Because they don't see me all the time.
Right.
And I'm hiding a lot of this drinking like a pro.
Yeah.
I'm hiding a lot of these problems very well.
Like, you will
So-
never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I quit drinking, I quit smoking cigarettes, and I quit eating meat on the same day. The meat thing it's just all about, it was just about taking responsibility for like, you know what? No more things go in my body unless I want them in my body. Like, I'm not just going to continue to consume the garbage I got off Instagram, or I got off all the social medias. I just stopped consuming and distracting myself and man, that first week, I just sat on the couch. I literally call it sitting on the couch, where I would just sit there willing myself not to go buy alcohol. And that's all I could do. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't even watch television. All I could do was make sure I didn't get up and go buy alcohol. And, you know, when you start trying to stop things, that's when you really,
Of course.
this was a problem.
Because all you're doing is thinking about it. And it's just like,
what? This is how much I think about this?
yeah, like, okay.
Bro, what?
That was not on my bingo card.
Right.
But
But
all right.
it was a lot easier to distract myself when I'm law school, theater school, deployments, all these things. So,
Yeah.
but luckily I had an amazing community that also, again, they normalized it. It wasn't like in the artistic community, so many people are sober.
Yeah.
So many people came from other industries and I remember Mike, the guy that kind of ran our school.
Oh,
you know,
yes.
that's in his spiel.
Mhm.
His like opening day spiel to everybody is like, I've been sober for 20 something years. And you're like, oh, wow. And that is when I also told myself that I'd be on a show in 5 years. And I was. And I genuinely do believe that it came from just taking responsibility for everything.
Yeah. But you have a knack of, and I don't think a lot of people have this, and I think it's what makes you successful, is you can get singular about the thing that you want, you know? So it's like, and And like, I mean, who in their right fucking mind stops drinking and smoking and eating meat all on the same day?
Weirdos.
Like,
Weirdos.
you know, like just cold turkey, just stop. But like, even when we would talk and be in between classes, it was very there's just a singularity, and I think a lot of people don't look at actors that way, as these like people who are just working to craft. And like, I think you also had a great mind for the business aspect of it as well. And you know, like, because it's not just about, oh, you're so talented, oh, you look amazing, oh, da da da. It's like, no, you need to know how to network, you need to know what classes to take, who it is you're talking to, because you never know which one of those relationships also will get you to the next step that you want to be in. But like there is no path for acting, but you can make steps for yourself depending on what it is you want. And you knew the thing that you wanted, so it was like, oh, okay, I need to go do this thing. And you were taking acting classes outside of acting classes.
Still, yeah, it was. And I because I just realized, you know, and they said it, but it's hard. They said it, but like, it was hard to hear until later, which is that like, there's a lot of places to go in acting. You can teach acting, you can do theater, you can do regional theater, you can do off-Broadway theater, you can do Broadway theater, you can do overseas theater, you can do voiceovers, you can do soap operas, you can do television, you can do movies, you can do, I mean, there's just so many worlds out there.
Yeah.
But like anything, if you overgeneralize, then people don't know where to put you.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an industry where you really need to tell them.
Yeah.
And a lot of that starts with being honest with yourself, being like, what do I look like? What's my vibe? What are my strengths?
Yeah.
Does it look like I should be in an August Wilson play? Does it look like I should be in a broad sitcom multicam comedy? Like, you know what I mean? And like, if everyone has a thing, and everybody, honestly, truthfully, everybody has a place in this industry. I don't care about your weight. I don't care about your color. I don't care about how good looking you are. Nothing. Just identify kind of what's the easiest place to put you and then lean into that.
Yeah.
I recognized very quickly, I look like I should be prosecuting a rape case. That was probably why I went to law school in the first place. Like, it's just how people read me.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Because I was heavier. I was struggling with the drinking problem. I was like, but for how people see me, I need to be in better shape.
Yeah.
Because I was in the military and they want to use that.
Yeah.
But they can't use that if I don't fit into that. Now, that doesn't mean I have to. If I was a completely different vibe, then I'd just lean into something else.
Yeah.
But I recognized that theater school is a general. It's a generalization.
Yes.
And I needed to figure out where to go specifically. It was a phenomenal foundation. It gave me space to learn and have a community and fail. But then I took myself to classes, on camera classes, outside of that, with casting directors that could give me feedback of like, if you want to be on TV, this is what you look like on TV.
Yeah.
Like, this is how you act in a frame.
Yeah.
And how your face reads. And that's when I started to learn how to do that technical stuff, which probably isn't fun for anybody who's listening. And I'm sorry if I'm boring you, but like, it's like, I know it sounds ridiculous, but you're right. There is no path. But if you can see where you're going, then you can kind of create one, or at least try your best to.
Yeah.
To put yourself in front of the people with the experience, with the training, to at least have a shot, because this industry is ridiculous. Like, the chances of success are
it's very wild. Like, I mean, you know, I went on an audition Sunday, and the director, right? The director called me. What did he say? He said, I I want, like, he just gave me some direction, but he said, and I know that's totally opposite of your effervescent personality and wonderful smile. And I was just like, oh, stop. But like at the same time, it's like, you know, it took me a long time to take that in, that my personality comes off as bubbly, as fun, as funny, as, you know, comedic.
Girl, I'm sure you did not want that. I'm
no,
sure you did.
because okay, and to be fair, like
let's talk about how we see ourselves.
I'm totally into that. You know what I mean? Like I can lean into that now very happily. That's fine. I think it also stems just from my childhood and the military specifically.
Totally.
I was
being a girl.
Yeah, I was like, I was tough as nails. Yep. I would fight anybody. Like I didn't go into the military and learn how to fight. I knew how to fight, and I took those skills and I just made them better. Okay, like you know. So when people would tell me like, "Oh, you're so cute," or I'd be like, "Bitch, I'll beat you." No, you know what I'm saying? Like that's not how I saw myself. But you're right. Like there has to be a reality shift, and like. Say I wanted to be an action star. Like I want to go and do a Marvel movie or something like that. It's like, yes, that is possible for sure. But I am seeing what I think I'm seen as the very funny comedic relief, you know, best friend type, what have you. So even if I could see that and then go for that, and that's my in, it doesn't mean that I can't later be in an action movie or an action star or anything like that. But this is my in. My adorable little face and smile will get me in the door to those places. And
you're
then
literally cherubic.
Yeah.
Cherubic is the word, honey.
Like, you know what I'm saying? But like, it's okay. Like I accept that fully. Like these cheeks, they're not going anywhere.
Man.
Honestly, I don't care how much weight I would lose. These cheeks,
they're gonna be right
they're
there.
not going nowhere. They go right here.
And they're gonna be, look at them. You have perfect little rosy balls. Like, it's like someone painted them on, but I know you, and I know that's what your face looks like with no makeup on. It's ridiculous.
These are my cheeks.
Those are the cheeks.
Those are my cheeks. You know? Like, got the little dimple coming in over here. Like,
I know.
That's my face, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And people read that face, and they're just like, oh my gosh, like, you're awesome. You're like, I just want to be around you. I like that energy. I want to do
so charismatic.
Yeah. So I'm just like, okay.
If you're constantly fighting it, and you're like, I want to be a grr. I'm like, well, now you look like a chipmunk that's gurring, and it's still cute, but you don't want it to be.
I know. So like, yes, lean into those things. Lean into it. It's okay. I'm here to tell you, like, it's refreshing to be like, okay. This is how people see me. Let's be real. Yes, it's there. It's there. That's what it is.
And it's a gift.
Yeah. It's like
it's a gift. Everything who you are is a gift. Nobody can be you better than you.
100%.
Ma'am.
100%.
And like just like you said, like, okay, I don't like best friend just because it implies like you're not the main character or main character energy, but yeah, like I would watch a show just about you being you, but that's the kind of type you are.
Yeah.
And that's amazing.
Yeah.
And what I definitely see is actors struggle who, especially trying to break from the theater school where like everybody kind of has to get cast. So you're just going to kind of get cast in general things.
Yeah.
But who can't accept like how they show up in the world.
Yeah.
And you can change that, by the way.
Oh yeah. 100%.
You can't change what you look like that much, but you can change kind of your energy a bit and things like that.
Like, you can definitely surprise people. Like, in school, it was so funny. Like Mike, for some reason, always saw me as like doing drama, and you know, and like, don't get me wrong, I'm really good at drama.
Oh my god, she's so good. Yeah,
but
that August Wilson scene is still gonna crush my soul.
Oh my god. You know, I think about that. I go back to that and I'm like, damn, that was good.
It's just sometimes magic happens in front of you, and that was magic, man.
It was so good. But then he put us in the five and dime business, and like he goes, you know, we're doing our one-on-ones, and he's just like, I didn't know you were that funny. And I was like, well,
Have you spoken
You
to them?
haven't been paying attention, sir.
You're
So
so funny.
that's why he ended up putting me in the 5 dresses at the other for our
God, you
intro.
crushed that.
But it was just like, okay, maybe it was that point. I was like, maybe I do need to stop trying to be a little tough bunny and just be the bunny. Just be the bunny. Like,
Tough is in there too.
yeah,
We can
and like,
tell.
but with the
Like you don't look like a fragile thing that's gonna blow over if I, you know what I mean? Like tough's in there. It's part of the charm. It's in the mix.
Yeah, it's the rough edges part. It's adorable, but like, you know, it's like I'm not going, like you said, like I'm not going to be seen as, you know, like on Law and Order. I'm either like going to be related to the victim or something like that. I'm not going to be the cop solving the crime. Like that's just not my makeup in that, you know, and that's totally fine with me, you know.
And
honestly,
again, I also think like respecting that. So like just be in the television world, it's their world, not the world.
Yeah.
Like Law and Order has their world.
100%.
Our show Quantum Leap has our world. Comedies have a different world where like you might play a cop in a comedy, but you wouldn't play that cop on Law and Order because it's their world. It's not the world. So just you don't have to be like, oh, this is how I am in the world.
Yeah, in like in those specific
you want
places.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
but in their
on,
world, they paint with these certain brushes.
Oh, 100%.
So do yourself a favor and just accept who you are for them.
Yeah.
And then make it easy for them to see that.
For sure. Like, I would be more of a Brooklyn Nine-Nine cop.
That's exactly right, girl.
Yeah.
Way to nail that point. Yes, you are a Brooklyn Nine-Nine cop. You are not a Law and Order SVU cop. I am a Law and Order SVU cop, and I am a Brooklyn Nine-Nine like detective who's coming to mess everything up, and I'm the worst. You know what I mean? Like I'm the bad guy on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And that's the best. So just respect the world.
Yeah. So like, yeah, definitely.
Man, you nailed that. God.
Like, boom. Done. Mic drop. Interview over.
Interview over.
Thank you.
Now I'm at Brooklyn. You weren't on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Let's do Brooklyn 1010. Queen 1010.
And it's just Brooklyn 2020. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. That's right.
Like, yeah, make my own funny cop show, man. Well,
like I'm writing a comedy right now based on my sisters. And it's like, because I'm like, most people don't know how to use my comedy, right? Because it doesn't present very clearly until you know how to use it. Once I'm speaking my own language, you're like, oh, I get it.
I see what we did there.
You know what I mean? But you know, and as Mike did say this, right? Like you earn working against type.
Mm-hmm.
And I came in like, guys, I was cast on a television show where the background of this character was military intelligence officer, multiple deployments to Afghanistan, and like a bunch of other things. It felt like they called my mother. Like I was right for it. And it's insane that I got this job. It's insane. Like I keep hearing stories about the producers like calling everybody I've ever known because they couldn't call like other producers. So they were calling Marcy Phillips, they were calling Disney because I was in that showcase. Like they called everybody because I was unverifiable.
We just want to make sure, but we just want to make sure. Well, I have to say, like, and it's maybe biased because I know you, but they definitely picked the right person for the role. I really enjoy it. Like it was crazy. Like I watched the first episode and I was just like, there she is. Like, fuck yeah. Like that's, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like
a lot of growing and a lot of mistakes. And I wouldn't suggest your first job being a series regular is number 2 on the call sheet. I wouldn't, just because like it was a rough transition, but you know what, like that's kind of my vibe. So
well, I mean, you definitely do dive into the deep end head first.
I do. If I ever wrote a book, it would just be called like Bring a Sledgehammer.
Like, I mean, you know, not to just be telling your business, but like you did the Disney showcase, like, and a lot of people think, oh, well, that was amazing. Like, you should have gotten like all these offers and calls and blah, blah, blah. And like, what was it, like 2 years?
It was ain't nobody called me.
Huh?
Ain't nobody called me.
Like,
ain't nobody was interested at all.
Yeah, but it was also like, it was just the craziest thing. It happened during the pandemic, so then everything had to be shot instead of being this in-person event. Mm-hmm. And so like it just, I mean, you know, so what seemed like it should have been the big shot, the one,
right know. This is, and everybody else landed with like the best agents and managers.
Yeah, and it's just like,
ain't nobody called me.
Like,
nobody called me.
Fuck, like, hello, hi, I exist. Hello.
Yeah, it was, you know, there's a lot of factors and you understand them.
Yeah.
That went into that and, you know, but at the same time, right, like, thanks for bringing that up actually, because it gives me an opportunity to say this. Like, you're right. When I got into, you know, Stella, you think that's going to be the break. When I get into the Disney showcase, which by the way has launched Lupita Nyong'o, Chadwick Boseman, Pedro Pascal, who's having a hell of a couple years. Like this, I mean, this thing has launched enormous careers. And so you're like, I'm on my way now. And then I got crickets. And y'all, I watched it with Amber because it was pre-recorded. So Amber and our other friend Morgan, we watched it together at the apartment I was in. They were out there supporting me. It was the best. And then we're all being like, all right, well, tell me who calls.
Yeah.
Nobody called.
Like the first day it was like, okay, like, no, that's, you know, like, it's the first day, you know, no big deal. And then it, you know, like weeks go by and you're like,
nobody.
Okay.
And it was rough, right? Like I was heartbroken. I was like, this industry doesn't want me. Which, look, the industry doesn't want you. It doesn't. It doesn't. It is. I mean, the best thing Todd Thaler ever said to us was, you're trying to break into a machine that doesn't want you.
Yeah.
But what that did is that gave me an opportunity to get better. Because you have two options there, right? You can give up and be like, well, I shot my shot and it just isn't working.
Yeah.
Or you can be like, well, maybe something legitimately wasn't working.
Yeah.
And I'll take this opportunity to get better. So while all my friends from Showcase were auditioning and getting these fancy agents and had a whole pilot season.
Yeah.
I was so dead broke. And I went to Bob Krakauer, who is one of the best on-camera coaches in the world, who I had been studying with. That was one of the on-camera coaches I had found for myself. And I kind of told him what happened. And he was like, he knew my background with the military and everything. And he understood, he knew why it happened. He knew I was older. I was in a certain category that was not being looked for right in that moment. And he's like, you know what? Okay. And he let me train with him for 6 months for free in his master classes. And I helped his assistant. I did administrative work for him on the side. And then at the end, about almost a year later, one of the best on-camera coaches in the world, and Marcy Phillips, who's the head of ABC Disney Casting New York, co-pitched me to managers. And one didn't sign me and one did. And he wouldn't even sign me until somebody else came on the team. It was bananas. And it's kind of funny because like now I've been on the show for 2 years and now I have to go get an agent and I feel exactly the same, babe. I feel like I am exactly that same little girl. I was like 32, but whatever, 31. Like same me a couple years ago being like, does anybody want to be my agent? Can I please? I just want to work. I work so hard. Like
your little Oliver in there. Please, may I have some more?
Please have some more jobs. like back out here. And like, mind you, I've been on a show for 2 years and still ain't no agents be calling, girl.
That's wild.
It's just how the industry works. They're not looking for you. Like, unless you're like 20 and exactly what they think the industry's looking for. And like, that's who they go seek out.
Yeah.
But honestly, it works for me because I don't know what to do unless I'm running up a hill. Like, if people start pushing me and like I start feeling like that's not going to work for me at all. My vibe is nobody wants me. I'll do it myself. I'll figure it out. And then I figure it out.
Calm down there, Sisyphus. Look here. Just constantly pushing that boulder.
I do be pushing that boulder. that boulder works for me.
I need the boulder. I have to have the boulder.
I don't even know what to do without the boulder. I also feel like focused effort allows true like potential of like similar to dating, right? Like I've never dated multiple people because to me that doesn't make any sense. Like date somebody, see if it works. If it doesn't work, then move on.
Yeah.
But even if it is like I'm acting like I'm all tough, like you know me, I'm the biggest mushball of the planet. Like I'm like, but he's trying so hard. I will make excuses all day. But at the end of the day, like I know in my heart, in my soul, with my God, you know, whatever the universe, whatever you want to say, like you're like, I know that's not for me. And if you're dating too many people or constantly keeping your options open or hot, like lukewarm, like you're never going to see that because you've never truly given it a fair shake, which means you don't actually know what's there. I feel the same way with life paths. That's why another reason I did that second year of law school. Hold on, like before I pull the plug on this, let me make sure that I really don't want to do this path. And I gave it the second year and I was like, I don't.
Yeah.
It's not for me.
Yeah.
And sure, in times of doubt, I was like, what a fucking idiot I am. Like I could have just finished and then like, you know what I mean? Not been poor, but like maybe if I hadn't, had finished, then I wouldn't have, then I would have been half in on the acting thing because I could have been.
Yeah.
So I do feel like, because if you're actually 100, obviously I'm big on 100. Like if you're actually 100, then, and it's still not working, then that means either something's wrong here or something's wrong there. That's it. That's the only two places that can be wrong. And then you can adjust course. Yeah. But if not, you're just constantly going to be like, I don't know why that didn't work. I don't know why that didn't work. I don't know why that didn't work. I don't want to live like that at all.
And it's, you know, and saying that you release the culpability from yourself. Saying, I don't know why it didn't work.
Oh, totally. It's not your fault. Like, you're a victim. You're a big old victim.
Yeah. It's like, no, take it into account. Figure out what it is that, you know, didn't work for you. What did work for you? What didn't work for you? What's something that maybe you need to be a little more purposeful about? What's something that, you know, it's all that stuff. It's so crazy. Like, you know, I'm where I need to be. It's not where I saw myself at this time, but I'm definitely where I need to be. And you know, as things are slowly kind of coming together and these little, like, you know, I've got like 5,000 balls juggling in the air, but like, you know, as I'm doing these things, like I'm taking each one and being like, okay, is this worth continuing? Do I want to continue, you know, this podcast? Do I want to continue? And it's like, okay, well then you got to give it its fair due. You know, you gotta push, you gotta go and make the marketing stuff. You gotta go do this. You gotta, you know,
try.
Yeah. And it's like, if you're kind of just, you know, oh, I would like to do that. Oh, I would love to do that. I would like, you know, but in your mind, you're like telling yourself all the reasons why it's not going to work or why you can't, or it's just, you're just stuck between a rock and a hard place. You're never going to move forward. On anything. It's just, it doesn't work. You can't want to say you want to do something and then think about how it's not going to work.
Right. Because you're just talking yourself out of it every day.
Like, what are you going to do with that? Like, where do you go with that?
You spin.
Yeah. That's
you just go in circles.
Yeah. And it's like, oh no.
I also feel like people need to retool what they actually think trying is. Like
facts. It's like not a one and done.
What did you do today?
Yeah.
Did any of those things include the things you're trying to do?
Right. It's like, well, like I did last thing, here at Catching Up With You, we love catching up with you and we care about what you care about. So if there's any organization or any person that you want to shout out, now is the time to go ahead and do it.
I mean, y'all can go ahead and watch Quantum Leap if you'd like.
What you mean if you like? You better.
Okay, fair enough. But you know what? There's a couple organizations. I still am working pretty heavily with veterans in media and entertainment, and they just asked me to do a class or a panel.
Oh, cool.
So I'll be sending that out because I really do want to help people transition into this industry, and it's in a very amorphous way. There's not a lot of clear paths, but like we've been talking about in this podcast, like I do think defining really where you want to go and then being humble enough to be like, how do I turn myself into the person that could get there, is a real key part of it. And I love the veteran community. We have our own unique set of things and issues. But at the end of the day, this is a group of humans that have done something hard in their lives and they can do it again.
Yeah.
It's just scary and it's a different type of hard. And if you can just start to translate that, you're going to be okay. So, all of those things. And yeah, thanks for having me. It was really fun.
Yay. Thank you for being here. And yes, so if you're watching this, and you better be watching this, but I'm just kidding. Go watch Quantum Leap. Go watch the whole thing. Season 1 and season 2. The last bit of season 2 is now on Tuesdays.
So Tuesdays at 10. You can jump in now though. You don't have to go watch everything. I think the second season is we really found our stride. If you love it, go back.
Yeah, I heard. Okay, so I would if you're gonna really start anywhere, start in the first half or the second half of the first season. Start in the second half because like once you get to the season finale of the first season, like you're fucking hooked, and then you're just going into the second season and you're just constantly being ripped apart. So it's great. No, it's totally awesome though. And I love it, and I made my mom watch it, and my mom is a brutally honest woman, and she called me and she said, "Ooh, you know what? I started watching that Quantum Leap. I like it. I do. I like it."
Thanks, Mom.
So if my mom likes it, go watch it. Trust me. Trust my mom. So that's all I'm gonna say about that. Okay.